Ba 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 brum, da 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 dum, brum, da 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 dun, da 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 dun, da 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 bum brum, shabba da ba doo boo, boo doo 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 boo, boo doo 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 doo, boo doo 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 doo. Let's start the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. So much in the news going on. We have January 6th acquittals. We have honors students getting rid of honors. Thank God. Those freaking racist kids. Apparently, Biden's giving phones to illegal immigrants, migrants, which is totally amazing, which is great because I've never been given a phone by the government. Did I say government? That's pretty much how this show's going to go. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Welcome to the revolution.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. As we start the show, we get right into it. First story tonight. Breaking tonight. January 6th. Acquittal. Enormously important. Dershowitz says the biggest story is the judge finds man not guilty in the first January 6th acquittal. Matthew Martin is the third Capitol riot defendant whose case has been resolved by trial. Oh my God. All these trespasses that are happening amongst our Capitol. He's the first of three to be acquitted of all charges he has faced. The first two Capitol riot trials ended with convictions, although McFadden acquittal was one of the defendants of disorderly conduct charge. Thank God they got him for disorderly conduct. Put him in prison for the rest of his life. Alan Dershowitz said, who's representing the January 6th defendant facing 20 years in prison. 20 years. Oh my gosh, that guy that did that, mass shooting with the fully automatic weapon in Sacramento got out early, but, we got to get these people locked down. Told the Daily Wire in an interview Wednesday that the acquittal of the Capitol riot defendant Matthew Martin is enormously important. Sets a legal precedent that could swing momentum in favor of his legal team, and my guess is you're going to see more of this. Why? Why, Derek? Because there's not political push as much as there was a year ago or 2 years ago. Why would it be 2 years ago? That makes no sense. A federal judge acquitted Martin, a former government contractor at Nuclear Weapons Laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico, on all charges Wednesday. Martin argued that the police let him enter the Capitol, and that he was waved into the building. How dare he say that? That never happened, right? Brady McNulton, who Dershowitz is representing, spent 18 minutes in the Capitol. 18 minutes! 20 years in prison. Get him. Get him! On January 6th, after he and others passed several officers walking in their opposite direction. Yeah, just go on by. No big deal. It's just whatever. Like, we're just walking by. It's basically this is like mall. We're doing a little window shopping. You can go here, you can go there. But these people need to be locked down forever. It was a war. This was worse than 9/11. This was worse than Pearl Harbor, 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing. I could go on, but I won't because you get the picture. Reported Knowlton told the Daily Wire that an officer said, this is from Knowlton, not from me, that the officer said, you can go in as long as you don't break anything. How? Lock this guy up forever. Lock him up forever. The cop said, you can go in as long as you don't break anything before watching police and protesters shaking hands. I saw him shaking hands. And then he said, you can go in, just don't break anything. Come on, have a look-see. Figure out what you want and go ahead and get you something. Just don't break nothing. Dershowitz said that the subject intent of the defendant is key, noting that the judge took Martin's word over that of the police and prosecution. The courts have looked at the state of mind of the defendant, he said. If that's a rule, we will win, he said, because it's clearly Brady honestly and reasonably believed that he was not violating any rules or laws. Tiger Man, what up? As long as he didn't do any damage. From what I am reading, if a cop is saying, come on in, just don't break nothing. Okay. That sounds like an invitation. That doesn't sound even like trespassing. When a cop is saying, come on in. Just go on in there. Go on and get you something. Get you a selfie. There are now 3 January 6 defendants who have resolved their cases in a trial. But Martin is the first to be acquitted of all charges. And again, I believe you're going to see more of this. And why, Derek? Why? Because there's no longer as much of a political push. It's not even a top story anymore as we relive January 6th. I relive it all day, every single day. The defendant was charged with entering and remaining in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, violent entry and disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, and parading and demonstrating or picketing in a Capitol building. Sounds like the cop was like, come on in, get you some. Just don't break nothing. But we need to lock these people down forever as more and more criminals in our major cities are allowed to go out of jail, release early over much, much harsher crimes. Knowlton's attorney, who included Harvard Law School professor Ronald Sullivan, said that his degree has been withheld by the University of Denver. Of course it has. You're not allowed to speak ill or speak differently of the state. The state dictates what is right think and wrong think. Even though in law you're required to be a lawyer for your defendant, it's different. He shouldn't have a lawyer. He shouldn't be represented by anyone. Around the same time, Airbnb banned him and his wife. Well, I know there's a lot of people actually on that list. And U.S. Customs and Border Protection removed his global entry access, of course. There was a status hearing for Knowlton's case in March. The court ordered that the prosecution and defense to subject a status report by May 20th, said Sullivan. The DOJ did not respond to a request to comment. Of course they didn't. I love when news agencies do that. Well, we reached out and no one said anything. Why? Why would they not say anything? It's not like they don't look like total idiots. I think we're going to see more of the people that are being over the top accused of crimes that are just ridiculous. Crimes that people like me committed while skating in my youthful days. These people, this guy that went in the Capitol, he was in there for 18 minutes, was facing 20 years. Walking in. It doesn't say that he went in and was disruptive. He didn't go and bash someone's head in. He didn't go break anything. He didn't steal Nancy Pelosi's computer. In fact, a cop said, go on and get you some. Walk on in. It's no big deal. Just don't break anything. And it's funny that these stories used to be seen as conspiracy theory, just QAnon, basically a Trump supporter. Instead, it's now fact. Why? Because, per usual, with our corporate media and everything that goes on in the world, it's all about emotions. It's all about a plea. It's a pleading for your emotions. It's creating the other. It's creating somebody to scapegoat into the enemy. It's putting people in a box saying they all act this way. They all think this way. Therefore, vote this way. And if you don't vote this way, you're going to see more of this. But I'm going to keep an eye more on these stories as they come down the pipe. You bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do that. Let me know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen to more of these January 6th criminals. They're basically should be like Nuremberg. It should be like standing on trial like Nazis. Let me know your thoughts. Tiger Man, Israel News reporting that U.S. general was arrested in... Really? Haven't heard anything on that. I don't know if I trust that. I almost read it out. I don't know if I trust that. Yeah. What's the... Is it their Jerusalem newspaper? Is that what that is? I'm curious. Okay. And then... Let's see, speaking of, let's just see what's going on in the news right now.
Deadly 24 hours of severe weather. The governor of Georgia has been...
Where did you see that article? I'm curious.
Afraid of more of this. West of Savannah on Tuesday.
I feel like that'd be really crazy, and that would be everywhere for really a U.S. general.
Mile wide right now.
Since the week began, authorities report more than 4 dozen tornadoes across 5 states.
Look at that.
This one tore through a golf course.
Dang, look at that.
And south of Macon, that sound.
That's crazy.
Congregational leaders now saying there were 10 men who raided
Wait,
the
is
house
this what you're
where
talking
Sister
about?
Sue Ellen and several other nuns were sleeping. She
No.
says Sue Ellen
American
was the
nun.
only nun that was taken, the only person that was taken, the only woman, I should say, because she was possibly American. Does that lead you to believe that she was definitely targeted then?
Well, it sounds like it. You know, if it was the Islamic State, if their purpose was terror plus robbery and monetary gain, they would want to hold an American. Like I say, the only saving grace, they didn't massacre anyone there. No one was killed on the scene. They absconded with her. You know, one thing.
She looks like a sweet lady.
Her whole milieu of kindness and grace and humility and her age. Because one thing with kidnappers.
I mean, you got to be such a tool to kidnap an old lady. I mean, just like, what a...
over your head. Look at Ukraine.
It's just insane.
What the Russian soldiers do to those they kill. They tie their...
All right. Here's this. It's reported now, not only is there going to be a new influx of migrants, illegal immigrants, people just searching for a better life, surging the border due to Title 42. The CDC, of course, is in charge of whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want. So, lifting of Title 42, and then, they expect it. It's going to be a surge. So, if you expect it, then you would think you would want to stop it, but not these people. They're like, oh, no, we're going to make it happen. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will be confirmed to Supreme Court, House, the Democrats, the oil industry, blah, blah, blah. Texas will bus illegal immigrants released to the state of the border, which we'll get into later. Apparently, Governor Abbott is going to be sending people to D.C., illegal immigrants. And then I saw Ted Cruz come out and say, I'm actually pushing a new law that's going to push them to like Palo Alto, California, Delaware, and we'll get into that later too. But here is our administration handing out cell phones for illegal immigrants. It's like, I didn't get a cell phone from the government. I don't want that. It's probably nicer than my phone.
Thank you, Jen. First, on immigration, our team in Texas is saying that you guys are starting to give smartphones to border crossers, hoping...
I love that like, it has to be actual journalism for that to happen. We don't know that they're handing out cell phones. They're just like, here's a cell phone for you. Just come on in. Come cross the border. It's like the Capitol. It's not like the Capitol. We want to put those people in prison forever for trespassing. But you guys... You're just coming across the border. Come on across the border. No big deal. We'll give you a phone, too.
Phones to border crossers, hoping that they'll use the phones to check in or to be tracked. Which part of that is supposed to deter people from crossing illegally into the States?
Well, I think you, of all people, since you've asked me a range of questions on this topic over time, would recognize that we need to take steps to ensure that we know where individuals are and we can track and we can check in with them.
Yeah. Doozy, you freaking idiot. We need to give these people cell phones in order to track them and keep up on them and give them information. And maybe we can give them health care. And maybe we can give them a car. We need to do this. This is what we must do. Are you paying attention? Are you listening to the words out of this administration? These people are not breaking the law. In fact, We're going to give them cell phones. Come on in. It's like the most insane. Yeah, she totally hates him. And I know she's probably going to, she's like counting the days down until she doesn't have to deal with him anymore. She's just like, and she doesn't have to defend Biden whatsoever. She's like, I swear to God, if I have to defend Biden one more day past the day I said I'm leaving, I'm going to lose it. Oh, I don't feel sorry for her whatsoever. I'm going to get to this story in a second. Is this not the definition of government right here? I mean, seriously. I'm not trying to make a joke. Biden signs Postal Service reform bill into law. President Biden signed into law a bill that would reform the U.S. Postal Service that passed Congress last month with bipartisan support. You know, if it gets more than one Republican, therefore it's bipartisan, and all Republicans are for it. Except for those fringe people. One major change in the bill is the end of the so-called pre-funding mandate, which required USPS to pay for its retirees' health benefits 75 years ahead of time. The USPS has suffered 14 straight years of losses. It's the definition of our government, isn't it? They can't handle their money. They can't even be profitable in what they do. And we just need to keep funding them. Because there's no way a private company would be able to send mail to people around the country, let alone the world. I can't think of a single private company that is, in fact, even better than what USPS has to offer. I can't think of one. Can you?
All right, it's official. All right.
Look at me, I'm doing stuff. People like me. Did you see yesterday with Obama? Nobody was talking to me. Why would people talk to me? You guys like me, right? But seriously, this is like the definition of our government. Poorly run, in debt, continue to go in debt, and yet we continue to fund it because we have to. Because we need to. U.S. Postal Service has deep-rooted history and must be maintained of all costs. We cannot have FedEx or UPS taking over. There we go. All right. All right, here we go. This is a story right here. Okay. Come to find out, Governor Abbott is going to start busing migrants, illegal immigrants, border crosses, people who are breaking the law. I mean, people are looking for a good place to live, breathe, and survive. Whatever you want to call them. But here's Governor Abbott.
Of Emergency Management to begin coordinating the transportation of illegal aliens to Washington, D.C.
You mean migrants? It's migrant, not illegal alien.
Sending migrants who crossed illegally.
I love the news. They're just like, he says, and then they correct him.
Sending migrants who crossed illegally directly to the steps of the U.S.
They're not illegal aliens. They're migrants who crossed illegally. They're not illegal migrants or illegal they're not illegal. They're migrants who crossed. You get it.
U.S. Capitol on charter buses. That is just one of the Governor Greg Abbott's newly signed letters in response to President Biden ending the Title 42 federal health rules next month. The governor's office says people only have to get on those buses if they volunteer.
The federal government has been using Title 42 to automatically expel some people while others await asylum hearings. But the pandemic-authorized health rules will expire on May 23rd.
And with that ending, Texas leaders
See you,
expect
Tiger
a
Man.
surge
Appreciate
of
you, man.
people to the Texas border. The other directive the governor signed will call for enhanced safety inspections by the Texas Department of Public Safety of vehicles as they cross international points of entry. This would be after they pass through Customs and Border Protection on Texas land and roads, and only of commercial vehicles. The governor also revealed Operation Lone Star will not involve boat blockades along parts of the Rio Grande.
There will be added razor wire at low water crossings and high traffic areas for illegal crossings. There will also be added shipping container blockades and extra lighting at night. And the governor says specially trained troopers and National Guard members will start practicing in riot gear beginning tomorrow in anticipation of crowds at the border.
Now, we did reach out to his election opponent, Beto O'Rourke. He says, quote,
Oh my gosh. Why would you even reach out to this guy? This clown? I guess you have to, right? I mean, why would you not? He said, if Abbott focused on solutions instead of stunts. Oh my God. Instead of stunts, then Texas could have made some real progress on this issue over the last 7 years. Interesting, Beto. Francis O'Rourke. Very interesting. What would be some solutions? Maybe putting up a wall, telling them we're going to lock you up and shove you back to where you came from. Like, what are some of these solutions? Because it seems like the only solution I'm hearing out of your party is that, come on down. We'll give you a cell phone, and we're going to ship you wherever we want.
quote, if Governor Abbott focused on solutions instead of stunts, then Texas could have made some real progress on this issue over the last 7 years. The governor's announcement comes as people expect even further strain on the immigration court system.
KXAN's Monica Madden explains how groups offering legal help are preparing.
Governor Greg Abbott is taking a new approach to handle the surge of migrants crossing the border illegally.
As opposed to busing these people to San Antonio, let's continue the ride all the way to Washington, D.C.
From Weslaco Wednesday, Abbott announced Texas will start sending migrants all the way to the nation's capital on charter buses. But his office clarified the busing is only for migrants who volunteer for the trip. Texas DP.
Isn't that just a fun little tidbit that isn't added in a lot of news agencies, especially on the right wing, that they have to volunteer? Interesting. I thought it was just Governor Abbott being a badass. Apparently not.
PS will also ramp up safety inspections to check if commercial trucks are smuggling migrants or drugs.
This is going to dramatically slow traffic from Mexico into Texas.
It's all in anticipation of an influx of immigrants crossing once Title 42 expires at the end of May.
Will represent a major change in the way that the border has been enforced.
Immigration expert Doris Meissner says, more consequentially, the backlog of asylum cases will also surge.
It can take years, an average 4 or 5 years for a claim to be heard. That is a dysfunctional system.
More judges and other ways to speed up that process is something Democrats have been pushing for too.
We're doing this wrong, and this is why I want to see more judges at the border.
Of course, you have to have resources at the border, but you also need to have a functioning asylum decision system that recognizes that some of these people, in fact, are eligible.
Monica Madden, KXAN News.
And the Biden administration did make a new rule to add DHS asylum officers to help judges process these claims. Congress also just approved $1.45 billion for southern border response, but getting those resources is going to take some time. Abbott says these new additions to Operation Lone Star will not require additional budgeting.
Amazing. The Democrat side to the border situation is we just need to process them faster. And the Republican side is that we're going to bus you places. That's our process. Those are our political parties. Very typical that they aren't really solving anything. They're just passing the buck to the other person. Isn't that so typical of our politics? Is that the Republicans are pretending to do stuff by just shipping them to D.C. and California instead of enforcing the border? What have we become? My greatest fear. Let me know your thoughts on the border situation. I think it's just one of these things that are just going to get worse as we lift Title 42, and they're already assuming it's going to be an influx. How about you just assume and change your mind and don't let it happen? I don't know. Call me crazy. All right. Do. Okay. Let's all say a prayer for the fox. What did the fox say?
Well, some new information on that Washington, D.C. fox that bit Sacramento Congressman Ami Bera Monday evening. The animal tested positive for rabies. We also know that it was an adult female fox that had a litter. Animals officials say that it's also responsible for 9 confirmed bites there in the capital area yesterday, and the fox had to be put down. Bera has since been treated with a series of shots and has since returned back to work. And of course, he talked with us last night, and he was pretty good-natured about it, and he's going to be okay. But
was he just walking and the fox?
He felt something. He said he had his umbrella and he kind of swung. He thought it was a dog, and looked at us like, "Oh my goodness, it's a fox!" And it was just right on his heels.
I wonder what's going to happen to the baby foxes if they also had rabies.
Good question.
I don't know.
I think we all know what the answer to that question is. Shalom. Yikes. What a silly story. Wow, this might be a crazy story. Let's watch this.
A random alert on her phone that someone was following her every move. She posted about it on social media and says she was flooded with messages from other women who said the same thing happened to them.
I was horrified.
Francesca Nardelli is terrified. She received this notification from Apple alerting her that someone was tracking her through an AirTag.
It said the owner of the device could see my location, and it showed me a map of everywhere that I had just been.
This is that map following her every move, even to her house. Nardelli called Boston police. She figured it was on her car. Officers searched but didn't find anything.
Definitely either was like on her person somewhere. These AirTags are about the size of a quarter, and they can put it somewhere where it's basically impossible to find. Even if someone did a really thorough job of looking at a car, looking at all the parts, that it could still be somewhere on there.
Apple says the alert that the AirTag is moving with you is part of their safety feature to notify users that an unknown device is following them. But Bob Rudis, chief data scientist at Boston-based Rapid7, says you will only get this alert if you have an iPhone. Apple does have an app for Android, but it does not send a notification. And Rudis says the AirTag has a long battery life.
It'll last like a good year, so it could be on you for a year. And if you don't have an iPhone, you wouldn't even know it's on you.
In Nardelli's case, there was a 40-minute delay from when the map says the tracking began to when she got the alert.
There is some implicit delay between the lingering time that an AirTag has to be with you or a foreign AirTag has to be with you.
It's really scary, and it's a lot more serious than it sounds. Like, you don't know what people are the motives people have of putting a device on your car. Like, it could be to steal your car, it could be to harm you.
I would assume it's to harm you. Just another reason why every woman should carry a firearm. That's crazy. We'll watch that. Watch that. Make fun of that later. All right. ISIS are apparently escaping prisons. This is like freaking nuts.
Northeastern Syria. As fires raged, militants stormed the jail. Inside, inmates. Earlier this year, Islamic State fighters detonated a car bomb outside a prison in northeastern Syria. As fires raged, militants stormed the jail. Inside, inmates rioted, and scores of suspected ISIS fighters escaped. It took over a week for US-backed Kurdish-led militia to seize back control.
Scores are dead after a mass prison break at a jail holding suspected ISIS fighters in Syria.
It was the group's boldest attack since 2019, when an international coalition pushed ISIS out of its self-declared caliphate. Victory was declared.
We knocked out the 100% of the ISIS caliphate.
And tens of thousands who had fought or lived under ISIS were rounded up and put in prisons and detention camps. But there are fears that those captured are using their time in detention to keep the ideology alive. Time and time again, prisons have proven to be incubators for jihadism.
Britain's top security jails housing radical Islamist leaders are becoming breeding grounds for their violent ideology.
During the Iraq War, the detention of men at Kambuka, a US military prison, was key to the formation of ISIS.
At least 12 of the top leaders of ISIS served time at Camp Bucca.
Today, some worry history could be repeating.
The unmitigated detention crisis across Iraq and Syria is a huge blind spot that is going to come back to bite us.
Among those detained, thousands of children left to grow up alongside hardened militants.
In another video, young boys chant that they'll crush the heads of non-believers.
So why has ISIS been given the opportunity to enlist its next generation of fighters? This is how the terror group is using prisons to prepare its comeback, and how governments who spent billions on the fight against ISIS are turning a blind eye.
Oh no. Oh my God. Oh, we created an entire generation of new ones. Oh God. That's what happens. You know, you kill the father, take away their mothers, and then you have all these kids who are pissed off. And we're expected that they're just going to like fall in line. They'll be just fine. Like, they're not going to be pissed off, you know? It's crazy.
In March 2003, a US-led coalition invaded Iraq.
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war.
A man called Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was swept up in a raid targeting men who had taken up arms against the occupation, and taken to Camp Bucca, a US-run military prison.
Camp Bucca, the United States' biggest detention facility in Iraq. There are more than 19,000 civilian detainees.
It was here that Baghdadi would sow the seeds of ISIS, the terror group he would later come to lead.
Most of the senior leadership and probably a good portion of the mid-level management and foot soldiers came from Bucca.
Camp Bucca allowed Baghdadi to network with al-Qaeda's leadership and recruits.
There are 24 camps. He was allowed open access to all of them.
Now, as tens of thousands of individuals who lived in the caliphate remain in limbo in northeastern Syria, many are seeing a parallel.
The kind of interaction and grooming that occurred with what would become major ISIS leaders is being replicated.
Like Camp Bucca, hardline militants are held in a melting pot with desperate individuals.
This is just a hodgepodge of people from different places.
You have supporters and victims all kind of stuck into one big mix.
You need to separate out those who are radicalized and those who are potential targets of radicalization.
One problem is that
How can you do that? I mean, it's like you're assuming based on how well they act. You know what I mean? It's like these people, if they act really ill, like flat and not overly aggressive and stuff like that, you're like, this guy will be all right. But that guy, he's definitely will be radicalized. I can feel it.
Syrian Democratic Forces who...
And then they'll like just start picking up on that and go, okay, so if we just act chill, we'll just get out. Cool.
were left to manage these facilities don't know who's who.
They don't have IDs or details on all of the detainees that they have. It's a huge intelligence problem.
In the prisons, hundreds of boys are kept alongside hardened adult fighters.
Are there any kids in here?
15 years old? Oh my God.
We've seen little boys and men all being held, you know, in one large crowded room.
It's very dangerous for these young children to be held with adults. These children are really incredibly vulnerable.
Recruiting and brainwashing these boys is top of ISIS's agenda.
ISIS has needed to find a way to continue to breathe life into its idea of a caliphate. This is where you see the ISIS emphasis on what it calls the cubs of the caliphate, which are underage boys.
In the sprawling detention camps,
they call them cubs? God. It's just little cubbies. Little cubbies with little AKs. You know, living the dream.
Thousands of families live in fear.
Killing has become a daily occurrence here, almost every day.
Killer T-Cell, what up? ISIS is bad. I know. I'm watching a story on the ISIS fighters that are in prisons right now and how they have, like, kids in there, man. Well, they're just going to be jailed forever? And then what happens to their, like, other family members? It just seems like every time we get our hands in some of this stuff, it gets worse. And we just, like, put a Band-Aid over all this crap, you know?
They kill 1 or 2 people at the camp.
A young child
who is
a victim in this situation where they have complete insecurity. This is what leads to engagement in violent extremism down the line.
We are preparing weapons for infidels. This is children. And you think that this feeling for these kids just is going to go away? They're actually going to be the U.S.'s friends. Or did we actually want this to happen? Time will tell, I guess. It's hard to tell with the industrial complex. Military industrial
what we've
complex.
done is create a vacuum where the only future maybe a young person can think about in these camps is something like ISIS.
The harsh conditions in the camp.
That was you when you were 8? Honestly, to some degree, probably me too. Just like give me a weapon for the infidels. Okay. We had a messed up generation, Killer T-Cell. I think that's what happened.
Also served to fuel ISIS's propaganda machine.
I'm just imagining a little 8-year-old Killer T-Cell running around. Well, I guess that's where you got your name from. Isn't that nice?
The Islamic State can use the poor humanitarian conditions in the camp as a propaganda tool to basically say, look, our women, our children are being indiscriminately persecuted by the SDF, by the Crusaders, etc., etc.
In April 2015, 8-year-old Matthew traveled with his family from the US to the Syrian city of Raqqa to join ISIS. Matthew became
8-year-old? Was that you, Killer T-Cell? 8 years old traveling? I'm 8 and I wanted to join ISIS. It's been my dream ever since I was 6. God, it's freaking nuts.
Became the face of ISIS propaganda against America.
Oh my gosh. This is like a liberal's worst nightmare. Got a little 8-year-old. I'm zeroing it in, man. I used to open sights. Oh, me too. At 8, I was using iron sights. Just wide open.
My message to Trump, get ready, for the fighting has just begun.
A victim.
I actually had my eyes closed. I could just feel it. You know what I mean? I was one with my weapon against the infidels.
Him of his parents' desires to join the caliphate.
It was hard. I didn't want to do it.
Matthew has since been rehabilitated into American life.
Cool. What is this kid up to these days? Does he still want to, destroy some infidels? God. Come on back to America. We'll have you. We'll have you in. We'll have you.
What's the best thing about being home?
Everything. Just everything.
But for thousands of other children...
All right. That kid seems pretty American. You can come on by with that long hair. I mean, he looks like a kid looks like a 9-day difference. He went from that to... He went from that to, where is it? That. It's like 9-day difference. ISIS, American kid. But he's camping. So you can't trust him. Little boys are base warriors and they need a little put. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We were all warriors back in the day. We were all cowboys and indigenous people. Who didn't play cowboys and indigenous people back in the day? I know I did.
Everything. Just everything.
But for thousands of other children brought to Syria, the future is less hopeful.
The SDF have explicitly asked governments to take back their nationals time and time again. Whether it's experts on radicalization or intelligence services, the consensus is really that bringing them back is...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did you see that guy walking with his crutches? What a faker.
Long and midterm option.
Governments globally pretend they are not here.
Wait a minute.
Whether it's experts on radicalization or intelligence services, the consensus is
Look
really
at that. Look at that. Crutches. He's not even using it.
Back is the much safer.
What a faker. He's probably scamming the system. I grew up in Germany. I literally played Nazis in Americana. Wait, why Americana? Why not? Wait, is Americana, is that German? You grew up in Deutschland? The motherland? As was trinken? Ja, Kana. I barely know any German. Und Wein or Bier? Ja. Und Wein und Bier. Das bitte. Kinderschniedel. My friend used to say that to me all the time. And I was like, what does that mean? And then he told me, I was like, please don't ever say that to me again.
Safer, more prudent long and midterm option.
Governments globally pretend they are not here.
There's really no plan for them whatsoever.
Governments think in shorter terms, so they'll kick it down the can to the next government.
Some countries, like the UK, have gone as far as strip citizenship from some of their nationals.
In the end, it turned out to, for me, it was a very clear-cut decision.
It's such a politically sensitive issue that no politician wants to be the first to sort of, stick their hand up to actively repatriate their nationals.
Some governments say...
Yeah, it's like, hey, well, I'll be the first one that starts taking in ISIS. Nah, they figured it out. These aren't actually... They didn't actually get more angry. They're better people now. They were just misunderstood.
There is not enough evidence for prosecutions at home, but this excuse can be unfounded.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine being in that room with all those dudes in there just sitting? Boring.
Excuse can be unfounded.
ISIS kept really detailed records, and those records have been confiscated. So we do have lots of evidence that can be used to prosecute foreign terrorist fighters.
The real challenge has been convincing the public.
They go to Syria, we take the passport.
Mais vous oubliez une chose, vous parlez d'eux comme si c'était des ennemis, c'est des citoyens aussi. C'est bien ça que la directive.
We have a sense of what works in terms of disengaging somebody from violent extremism. We just haven't been willing to apply it to this group of people. The resistance to even bringing children back, I think, is an enormous failure of societies.
Yeah, but what kind of children are we trying to bring back?
In the wake of the US withdrawal from Afghanistan, Islamic State militants...
A cell with... Yeah, I know. I can't imagine being in that kind of cell. It's like... You know some crazy stuff goes down late at night in that cell. And I don't know what. I don't want to get into it, but it's going to get a little weird.
Escaped prison alongside Taliban members, as this clip appears to show. Just days later, as Afghans rushed to flee the country, one escapee detonated a suicide bomb outside Kabul airport. Hundreds were killed.
Oh, I remember when that happened. Do you remember Joe Biden? Probably not.
The attack showed how militants can exploit instability to break out of prisons with devastating consequences. Prison breaks have long been a key strategy for jihadists. In the wake of the US's departure from Iraq in 2011, ISIS launched a series of attacks on prisons.
Militants wearing suicide vests then entered the compound and helped free the inmates.
The climax was a simultaneous raid on jails in Taji and Abu Ghraib.
Hundreds of prisoners escaped Abu Ghraib prison during a violent prison breakout.
Attacks paved the way to the capture of Mosul and then subsequently the declaration of the Caliphate in 2014.
In recent years, to regain momentum, the Islamic State has continued to orchestrate prison breaks.
They've been happening all over.
At least we weren't able to teach them about George Floyd. Yeah, because then they'll be really pissed off. No, we probably did. It was probably part of their prison reform of like rehabilitating. It's like, also, I'm going to teach you about the power dynamic in society and how my white privilege is holding you down from being who you are.
From West Africa to Southeast Asia.
The ISIS campaign against prisons and detention facilities is a global emphasis for the ISIS organization.
In every leadership statement that the Islamic State has published since 2019, prisons have always been a priority issue.
Not only do they help ISIS replenish its ranks, they also help energize global supporters.
It features in their propagandas frequently, and it is an important aspect for the group.
The scale of the latest attack in Syria in January 2022 proved what happens when the threat of prisons is overlooked.
We are surprised every single time that happens, which should not be the case.
You remember when we were pulling out of Afghanistan, there was like the rise of ISIS-K? Where did that go?
And when the responsibility of guarding prisoners is left to a militia force in an impoverished breakaway region of Syria.
They've really been reaching out to the international community for help on these issues, and it's unfortunately...
I wonder if the Taliban just laid the hammer down. I was like,
largely gone ignored.
The attack also demonstrated the group's eagerness and growing capability to return.
This one in particular was being framed as a new kind of episode in the apocalyptic war of the Islamic State.
The recent attack was testament to the fact that ISIS does have the capacity to regroup, and they have this sort of strategic patience to be able to make sure that their priority leaders and...
Of course they do. It's a religious thing. It's what happens when secular people who are atheist or people who have no religion and just no spirituality about them, and they're just oh, these people are so patient. Yeah, because they believe they have to do this in order to go to heaven. So what do you think is going to happen when you put them in prison? They'll just pray and wait. They'll see suffering equals closer to holiness. Suffering is refining and building you back up to being a better warrior, I'm sure. So of course that's what's gonna happen. It's not, they're just not gonna go out, get out of prison and be like, I'm a changed man.
Operatives will at some point be able to rejoin the fight.
In February 2022, the leader of ISIS was killed in an operation by US Special Forces.
Thanks to the bravery of our troops, this horrible terrorist leader is no more.
But these military victories do not equate ideological defeat.
Defeating the group militarily is not enough, because the group can always come back.
As the world looks away, ISIS continues to capitalize on those detained.
Detention facilities are a necessary evil, and it's that lack of priority attention and lack of resourcing that presents an opportunity for ISIS. And my fear is that we're going to look back on this period and say, man, I really wish we had done more.
Yeah, it's not like we send, our own, troops there to defend that region, and then all of a sudden they're in prison, and then a lot of them got out. It's whatever. It's not a big deal. All right, here we go. Here's some crazy stories. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about at the beginning. All the time in media, right? All the time. It is gray area lies that they push. We're not actually teaching CRT. We're not teaching critical race theory. That's what you're taught in law school. And it's just a theory. It's just an idea. It's just a way of seeing things. It's not an actual thing that we're going to push down people's throats to the point where if they don't bend the knee and see how we see, we're going to put them in a category and call them racist and then tell them to leave and counsel them, get rid of them. So let it go, you crazy right-wing conspiracy theorists. And here's a perfect example of CRT being in school. And the media will tell you it's not CRT. It's just being more equitable, even though the CRT has deep roots in Marxist ideology. And they're just so okay with lying to your face. But let's listen to this insane story about our school system. And you think I'm making this up? I'm not. I wish it weren't so. You look at this face. That is the face of a man who says, I can't believe I'm even talking about this because this is stupid. This kind of story concerns me about what America will turn out to be. Listen to this shenanigans.
Dan Patrice, tonight's meeting saw more than 40 people speak in a lively school committee meeting here at Barrington High School, and it's one where a lot of people express frustration and confusion. Barrington parents, students, and taxpayers looking for answers.
English less important than math or science?
After the school district, widely considered one of the best in Rhode Island, decided to remove certain high school honors courses earlier this month.
By creating these learning inequalities, you are hurting our town and the students most of all.
Starting next school year, BHS honors programs for English and social studies courses for 9th and 10th graders will not be available. The district says the change makes classes more equitable, but many folks worry the removal hurts students.
What deleveling has done is erased a problem, it has not solved it. To remove choice, opportunity, reward, and challenge, and support in the name of fairness for all is just about the most individually unfair thing I've ever heard.
Some raise concerns ranging from confusion over course selection all the way to AP readiness.
You cannot tell me that removing honors will help our kids be better prepared for AP courses. It will not. It cannot.
Others even calling for action.
I implore the school committee to vote to restore honors courses and conceptual courses in the 2022-2023 calendar year.
Principal Joseph Hurley says he wants to revisit the change in the coming months.
I think part of the issue that we have run into is we've made some very quick decisions on some of these things, and then we've had to backtrack and continue to backtrack. I want this to be done right. I want this to be something where it's going to be good for kids.
But tonight, parents hoping it happens sooner rather than later.
So please, return us to where you were and figure out what you're doing.
And Principal Hurley did say earlier that he wants to bring back a honors distinction for English and social studies in the fall. However, there was no vote taken and no details were released. They're hoping to have more on those coming up in May, when the school committee did ask for a more thorough report about data and communication as well to the school department. Live in Barrington, Cal Domowski, NBC 10 News.
Killer, equity equals commie BS. Exactly. These type of local stories are not talked about enough. And what did you notice about the parents? They're all white. But this kind of story is not talked about enough. It really isn't. This idea that we're going to take away honors classes. Look, I was never an honors student, all right? I was the goofball in the class. I saw school as a joke. And I looked at honors kids and thought, I wish I actually cared as much as you cared. I didn't see it as, this is unfair. But it's just stripping down the desire for competitive nature and the heartbeat of America, of freedom, of if you try as hard as you possibly can, you give it your all, you study at home, you don't just go home and start your YouTube or Twitch channel and play video games all night like I'm doing right now. You actually study and you learn and you give your life to the school in order to grow and make yourself into something more. They want to take that idea out, and they want you just pass through school. We'll get rid of grades. All right? Because grades create... It's not equitable with grades, because there will be people with higher grades than others will be with lower grades, and then they'll feel insignificant and they'll feel like less of a human. And instead of realizing maybe they should have tried a little harder in school, or gave more time to the subjects. Yes, there are learning disabilities, of course. There's dyslexia, there is ADHD, and I actually have reading dyslexia. I don't know if you've noticed sometimes when I'm reading, but I have it. But those kids can just have more time and they can just learn differently. There's no excuse for not trying. And this idea that some people are built for school and some people aren't built for it, of course. But that's part of life, where people like myself who just don't do well on tests. It's not my thing. I learn differently, and I also excel in things differently than the people that did do well on tests. Like I could get a group of people together to have a good time. I could throw a killer party, whereas other people couldn't do that for jack. We all have different abilities, and we should lean into those abilities and become better human beings. So instead of encouraging to live outside of yourself and go for the stars, go for the impossible dream, they want to take that away in the name of equity. And then they want them all on the same playing field. And so it doesn't matter how hard you try or how much you excel, you get the same grade as the other kid who didn't try at all. And what does that mean? What kind of system is that when no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, no matter what skills you possess, no matter how many hours you work, you get the same pay, the same grade as the kid who didn't try at all? What is that called? A union! God. But this kind of stuff is why I left education, because I saw it coming down the pipe. We were more concerned about making kids feel comfortable than making kids feel comfortable and also encouraging the kids to go above and beyond. And that it's okay that some kids are just more gifted in some of these areas. In fact, it's a good thing in America to have kids who are really good at math, are really good at science, can memorize stuff, because then they can progress us as a society and a nation together. That should be celebrated. But instead, that's seen as, wow, that is some Anglo-Saxon white supremacy ideology that needs to be taken down, because then that supports individualism, and individualism needs to be squashed no matter what. We can't have these kids knowing that they can make it on their own if they just try as hard as they possibly can. They need to know it's the system that allows them to continue around the same route as everyone else, because we're all the same, no matter what. But we'll celebrate the people who are, fit in this category a little bit more than the people that look like me. Useful idiots. They gotta have them, don't you? Praise God. Ironically, losers benefit the most from mediocrity. Exactly like me. I'm just kidding. But seriously, losers, but also just it's just a fail. It's a failure for America. It's a failure for society. It's a failure for us as human beings, and us progressing and growing in knowledge and creating new technology and creating new things to, new ideas, maybe progressing some idea. It's such a dumb thing to celebrate as equity in school. It's so dumb. It's not healthy. In fact, it seems like it seems like in equity in school, it's like, if you want equity in school so much, that's out of a deep-seated insecurity of who you are. You're just like, it's not fair that kid doesn't study at all and makes all A's, and I study as hard as I possibly can and I make C's. And so it's an insecurity that takes the roots of that idea and then says, you know what, kid who scores high, you're coming down to my level. I don't care what you do, but you will get the same grade as me, and you won't be celebrated more than me. You're the same. Instead of, well, let's teach this kid some decent coping mechanisms, because you know what? In life, it's not fair. And there are people that are just going to have a better life than you. People are going to be smarter than you. And people are just going to learn differently than you and have a different personality than you. And that's okay. And you need to learn to be comfortable with who you are. But instead, we squash any kind of individualism, squash any kind of progress in the name of knowledge. Stupid. Our affirmation action hires go to jail. I mean, is she a woman? I'm not sure. I'm not a biologist. So I can't tell you because I would want to punch myself in the face. All right. Here's another thing. I mean, might as well go down the same route. So CRT, critical race theory, this commie stuff, this commie BS, this killer T-cell says, it's just in law schools. It's not actually bleeding into our schools, and it's especially not bleeding into our churches.
We are continuing our spiritual practice that we are calling fasting from whiteness. During this...
I'm sorry, what did you say?
We're continuing our spiritual practice that we are calling fasting from whiteness. During this season of Lent, we are choosing to place at the very center of this church the voices of Black people, Indigenous people, and other people of color.
This is from the Post.
I need to hear that one more time.
We are continuing our spiritual practice that we are calling fasting from whiteness.
We're fasting from whiteness, but then we're going to celebrate other races more. Instead of, Jesus died for all our sins. Jesus died for every single one of us. And in that we're all in God's kingdom, and we're going to not celebrate ourselves and celebrate each other, but we're going to celebrate Christ and what he did. That's freaking insane. We're going to give up.
We are continuing our spiritual practice that we are calling fasting from whiteness.
Fasting from whiteness. How is this guy going to fast from whiteness? He looks like the whitest man I've ever seen in my life. He's racist. Exactly. He's racist about himself. It's so weird. It's like, if you're fasting from whiteness, there's like this weird push by so many of these liberals. It's so communist and so Marxist in its deep roots. It's like, I need to ask for forgiveness of my whiteness sin, this guilt that I carry with me all the time, and I need to recognize my sin. It's like it's on my skin, it's in my brain, and I can't get rid of it. I'm white. It's disgusting. I need help. And Black people don't have it. They're fine. They're sinless. They're blameless. They're clean. They're white. They're not white. They're clean. They're holy. They're seen as the other. They're perfect. Me, I gotta repent of who I am. This is so racist. It's so backwards and not progress. This is regress. This shouldn't be celebrated. This should be condemned by the church. This should be condemned by pastors everywhere. So instead of you recognizing that you have sin in your life, you want to recognize that your whiteness is the sin. Ay, qué lindo. I wish someone would try to decolonize my white mind. I know. I don't even know how do you how do you do that? How do you repent of your whiteness? What a weird thing to say. And he's repenting off of his own ideology of who he believes he is. Apparently, in his mind, he's got to repent of his whiteness because he sees himself as superior to the other, which I don't. But this guy does. And so he needs to repent of his whiteness because he looks at himself in the mirror. He wakes up every day and he says, you know what? I am all that is good and holy in the world. If he thinks that, then yes, repent of that because that is definitely a sin. But to call it all together, let's repent. Repent of our Jewishness. Repent of our blackness. Repent of our Asianness. Repent of our Mexicanness. Our Hispanicness. Our Germanness. This is so silly. It would be so fun. It would be kind of fun, actually. This is crazy. This is like such a weird thing. It should never be celebrated and should be condemned always. It would be fun. I took so I just recently got my master's and I had to take a white privilege class. It was called multiculturalism, but there was like an entire 2-week span about white privilege, because no other race has any kind of privilege whatsoever. And that was, there's like, I could see that there's privilege in America, but it's definitely not a racial thing. I think it's more social economic, where it's like, if you have lots of money, like Will Smith, they can just walk up to somebody like Chris Rock and slap him right in the face and not go to jail. That's what privilege is. LeBron James' kid, just, his first car is a Ferrari, and I'm still driving around a piece of shit truck. Like, what the frick? Don't tell me that he is, I'm like, he's inferior to me. It's so dumb. Inherit the position in the assumption that minorities are handy. Exactly. It's the white savior complex of like, I need to save you. This is why like so many liberals have that white savior complex of like, I need to, if I don't address it, if I don't talk about it, no one will. If I don't help these people, they can't help themselves. Like they have no capacity in their brain. It's just like such a racist thing to think about. It was like, these people, these POCs just can't help themselves and they need my help to change the world. And I need to recognize that. And that's what true equity looks like, in equality, which is like the most racist thing in the whole world. And don't worry, there are more racist things to talk about. And I'm not talking about The View. I'm talking about, where is it? Where are we? Where is she? Oh, this. Okay. Let's just keep this going. You know what I mean? Because this is where we're at in America. We can't just... This is what CRT, this is what confessing your whiteness, your giving up your whiteness for Lent, whatever that Catholic priest was just saying, or I don't know if he's Catholic. I don't want to assume anything. I apologize. But this is where it leads to, this kind of rhetoric, this kind of ideology, this kind of insanity. Listen to this. This is from Ohio State University, all right? This is a student leader at Ohio State University. Listen to these words very carefully, because this is where these liberal leftists think is actually, this is a good thing. This is a good mindset. And this is what people like myself, who have been calling this CRT crap out since day one, that this is racist ideology and racist rhetoric, and this is what will eventually lead to. Here we go.
I just wanted to say that, and make this very clear, the only people who are taught that they are superior to another race are white people.
No, I've never been taught that my whiteness, I am superior. But they are being taught that now. So I will give that kid credit that the white people are superior in the liberal leftist schools because they believe they need to repent of their whiteness and that there's a power dynamic and then the white person is powerful and the POCs are not, and the white person has to lay down their power in order for POCs to rise up. And so this kid has this ideology, and watch it where his logic goes.
I just wanted to say that and make this very clear. The only people who are taught that they are superior to another race are white people. And I would absolutely love to live in a world where Black people were taught that they are superior. I would love it because I full-heartedly believe that.
Did you hear that?
People were taught that they are superior. I would love it because I full-heartedly believe that. But that's not the case at all. And so I just wanted to make that very clear.
Sorry.
Absolutely love people who are taught that they are superior to another race are white people. And I would absolutely love to live in a world where Black people were taught that they are superior. I would love it because I full-heartedly believe that. But that's not the case.
Totally okay to think that way, isn't it? Because of the power dynamic, he's allowed to say that. He's allowed to say, I think that Black people are actually more superior. So what are you going to do about it? Huh?
At all. And so I just wanted to make that very clear by saying that by taking away the teaching of one race as superior to another, that is inherently white supremacy, because white people learn from birth that they are superior. There is nothing that they need to be taught in school that tells them that. They learn that from their lived experiences. And so by teaching.
So white people believe in white supremacy based on their lived experience. So there's nothing they can do. They automatically believe, white people automatically believe that they're superior because of their lived experience. Do you hear this? There's like something inside of you that there's nothing I can do, no matter my lived experience, no matter my lifestyle, no matter who I am, no matter how wealthy I am or not wealthy I am, no matter what job I have, no matter what I do for a living, no matter what my lifestyle is like, my family situation and all that stuff, or background, or where I've come from in the world. There's something within you that you just believe it because you're white. When this kid, it was like, actually, I believe Black people are more superior. So in your face.
You know, and white supremacy is not something that you learn about by any means. And it's a relatively new term, and it's a term that is heavily debated because a lot of people don't like calling white people superior. And I completely understand with that. But there's no such thing as white inferiority. There will be a protest if somebody said that on this campus, like literally, white people are inferior. And I'm going to say that right now because this is my space to say that. But like, I do believe that Black people are superior. But that's not something that we're taught in schools by any means. And it's not something we'll ever be taught, but it is something that your parents teach you. It's something that you learn from your great parents. You learn from learning about your ancestors. You learn from learning that Black people fought back at every.
I mean, seriously. Killer, it's honestly horrifying to discover in your 30s that this many people are so stupid to believe in falling in this shit. I know. I don't, like, this kid is clearly a racist, all right? I am okay to say that. I'm not scared. I'm not afraid to say that because he's saying that he believes Black people are superior. If you have that idea, I don't believe white people are superior. That's the most idiotic statement in the world. That's what a racist would say. I reject that notion. I reject that premise. And that's why there's a difference between liberals and people on the right, the left and right. This is where we differ. I see people as, I look at them and I see you as equal. And he looks at them and sees a power dynamic because of his Marxist ideology that ruins his life and will cripple him the rest of his life and feel like he will never be able to survive or climb the ladder because of this false premise that he is inferior to the other. When I see him as equal to me. This is like, it's literally the saddest thing in the whole world. Like, I And I don't think enough people, A, I don't think enough people are talking about this. And B, I don't think people are realizing some of these people are going to be adults soon and in being companies higher up than you in control of information and the narrative and have this ideology of not seeing people as equal. It's been this way for 1,000 years. They just don't get the Enlightenment period. Yeah. Also, civil rights. Also, like everything Martin Luther King was about, you know? Everything that people push for to see people as equal. I just want to be free. I just want to look at another man from a different race and say that we are equal. We are all Americans. We are all one. Instead, they want to continue to separate us, which I've seen since my whole life. But I'm the crazy one. I'm the insane one. I have a crazy thought that I want to see this person as equal to me. And this guy sees a power dynamic. And because I see him as equal, I'm the racist. What world are we living in? Obviously, two different realities. And I don't know where America's going to go on this. I don't. It's like, it's literally the saddest thing in the world to me. I don't know where, like, we progress. I don't know where we slow down and maybe think about this, because it seems like one side of the aisle is just pushing this. One side of the aisle just wants this. One side of the aisle just sees this as the way, the truth, and the life. Whereas me, I just want to fight it because it's racist and not what I want. I want to live in a world where we're equal. I want to live in a world where, you know, I like the idea of the melting pot. I like the idea of different races and experiencing different races and going, you know, trying Mexican food, trying Asian, like Chinese food, trying Korean food, trying Japanese food, trying Ethiopian food, trying like German food, Irish food, like Russian, like it doesn't matter. Like I like the idea of experiencing cultures, rich cultures from different people groups and seeing each other as one, and then taking each other's cultures and making our own culture, because we're individuals at the heart of everything. But these people want to see people in groups, and they want to see people in the power dynamic, and that's sad. It's honestly more depressing than it is like I want to make fun of it. But I won't make fun of that. All right, we need a laugh. I need to like bring this back up. What do I want to... Anything exciting going on in the news? Russian war.
And see your home like this.
I have no words. My husband is a builder. She says 30 years we were making this house for our children. Now we have no future here. We went up to their apartment.
How many of your friends and neighbors died in these attacks?
Oh my God. Just more FF. Yeah. All right, let's laugh, or try to laugh. We'll see. Here's Daily Show attempting to make fun of people who are into cryptocurrency. See, I love that people don't understand what crypto is. It's such a basic concept of money. It's so basic, but yet it's just like it's not the dollar, so it's like, what is it? It's like it's not George. That's the funniest part. You know, this is all fake. That was like, cause like, yeah, I felt that. I felt that as we're watching inflation and we're watching how our government is, you know, printing money like no other and overspending, and then telling it's these greedy corporations. And then we're watching Russia, the ruble going back up to where it was normally, and then potentially going on the gold. That was actually kind of funny. It really crescendoed for me. All right. Watch this freaking this guy. Not bad. I know. It's almost like, okay, yeah, there you go. You're learning. You're learning not to just make fun of MAGA country all the time. It's so boring and repetitive. We get it. You hate Trump and you think all their supporters are stupid. Boring. Talk about yourself. Make fun of yourself. All right. This guy's a freaking national treasure. All right. Cassidy Campbell, look him up. He inspires me to do this. I want to do stuff like this. This guy is just freaking fantastic. He has something to say to the NFL.
More problems that I have noticed in the NFL is that the NFL stands for the National Football League, and Adolf Hitler was a nationalist. Therefore, it needs to be changed to the Equality Football League, which leads me to a list of things we can do to make the NFL a better place. First, women players and coaches. Chinese quarterbacks, an LGBTQ section in the stands, a Michael Sam Gay Player of the Year award, signing bonuses for openly gay players, for the people in the back, mandatory vaccine cards for all, critical race theory training for all players and coaches so they can understand the white rage. I am white and I want to know what white rage is. I want to know.
So far, he hasn't said anything about Colin Kaepernick. If he doesn't say a single word about Colin, I'm gonna lose it.
Mandatory knee while playing the national anthem. For George Floyd, abolish the national anthem because it's racist. A moment of silence for Martin Luther King before each game, recognizing him for freeing the slaves instead of honoring the military because they are racist. Before each game, we should have our frontline doctors come out to the field because they are the real heroes. Every game, the player should honor one LGBTQ member with a sticker on the back of their helmet, gender-neutral locker rooms, black kickers, alternate gay pride uniforms, pronouns on the back of their jerseys. The Super Bowl trophy will be changed from the Vince Lombardi trophy to the Colin Kaepernick trophy. And lastly, the commissioner shall be a non-binary transgender so that they can understand all walks of life. If we all do these things, we can make the league more diverse and full of equality instead of this racist, bigotry league full of Trumpism.
Your time is up. Reggie Ruffin. Your time
thank
is
you.
Up.
So incredible. I just love how I love at the end how she's just like, okay, you're done.
Okay,
Your time
thank
is
you.
More problems.
How can you not be dying laughing? It's like part of the reason why I hate politicians so much. They're just like, okay, you're done. Bye.
Reggie Ruffin.
She's so mad. She's like, I want to take my life very seriously, and this is not funny. God, the black kickers is so funny. Oh, it's too good. All right. Speaking of too good. Okay. We'll watch one more funny video and then I want to hear what The View has to say about ending the border crisis, which will be interesting, their take. Again, The View is my kryptonite. I just can't help it. Watch this insane video of this cop taking down this person with a knife.
Drop the knife now. Drop the knife now.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down. I get up again. She was planking at the end. Look at that. She's flat. She's laid out. I do hope there's a part of me, Killer, that like Democrats by now are like, God, we've gone too far. But at the same time, I want them to keep leaning in because the crazier they get just shows how insane some of their ideology is. All right, I want to hear, again, The View is my kryptonite, and I want to see what they have to say about the Trump-era border policy coming to an end. Obviously, it's racist because it has to do with Trump, no matter what.
D.C. gets closer to making a bipartisan deal on the $10 billion COVID relief package. Mitch McConnell hinted that it may depend on keeping you-know-who's Title 42 immigration policy, which...
That's right. Mitch McConnell, the fiscal conservative, says, I'll pass your bill, but you got to keep that Title 42 in. Those are the Republicans for you. Those are those fistical Republicans that are so concerned about the budget. They're all the same. They're just roadblocks. They're just speed bumps. Okay, we'll pass your bill. But just take one thing off so we look cool.
Turns back all undocumented citizens and asylum seekers at the border. Now, it's set to be lifted next month, and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki explained why. Take a look.
Jen Psaki? I thought it was Jen Psaki. Penske?
House Press Secretary Jen Psaki explained why. Take a look.
Title 42 is a public health.
Either I've been doing microaggressions and saying her name all wrong, or she just did. And if she did, I'm going to lose it.
Directive. It's not an migration enforcement measure. And the decision on when to lift Title 42 was made by the CDC.
So, I'm not really sure what's happening here. Should Republicans be...
Yeah, I don't, this is her. I don't know what side I'm supposed to be on right now. Tell me, because it's too big of an issue for me to like look up and read about and all that crap.
I'm not really sure what's happening here. Should Republicans be using this to hold up this other bill?
No.
Or are they listening to Republican voters who want to keep the policy in place? No. I'm still not sure what, I thought it was a medical policy also. But
technically it is. I mean, I come from a border state, so I can speak to it pretty well.
Me too, yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot stand when people do that. I need to say this. This is my lived experience. I have direct, oh my God, look at her eyes. I have some direct feelings regarding this because I come from a border state, and Whoopi's like, yeah, me too. I'm in New Mexico, and I live in Santa Fe, which is at the very top of New Mexico, so I know exactly what it's like to be near the border, even though New Mexico is the 5th largest state in the United States. You get it.
Arizona. 20 years I lived there, and I've seen what open border policies can do to the country and to the people who are trying to get into this country.
What has it done to Arizona? What do you mean by open border?
People who are...
Did you hear her? What do you mean by open border? Say it. Say it to my face.
Well, like this, if they lift this, people are going to go from 7,000 people getting into the country every day to 18,000.
You said you've seen open border policies. What do you mean by that?
I mean by letting people just come in and not enforcing and sending them back. In the previous administration, I'll just say it that way, we had a zero tolerance. You need to go back and you need to come into this country legally, which I agree with. I think that this country mostly agrees that dreamers need a path to citizenship. People are welcome here with open arms as long as they come here legally. But when people are able to just cross the borders willy-nilly, there's also a criminal element. And I've seen the human trafficking that is done. There's people, they're called coyotes. They bring women and children across the border. And
look at her lips. What is she doing? I don't know, white girl. You got this wrong.
People, they're called coyotes. They bring women and children across the border and leave them in the desert and do unspeakable things to them. And so to go from 7,000 people to 18,000 people daily crossing into our border illegally, I don't know how we would pay for it. I don't know where we would put them. And it puts a lot of those people in danger.
I want to ask, do you remember?
Define, what did she just say? Define legally? Look how pompous she looks.
Those people in danger.
I want to ask, do you
define legally? I know it's like totally illegal to cross the border because, it's a country's border, but go ahead and define legally. Again, this is why I watch The View. This is why I look at clips, because this is what people are thinking on that side of the aisle, and it's important to know, even if it's insane.
Do you remember Ronald Reagan's...
Define legally. Can you do that? Can you go ahead and define legal? Are you saying that millions of people have been raped and trafficked? It's like the British Nazi skit, Are the Baddies.
Speech about Open borders?
No, I was.
He was for it because he felt people came across, they worked, they paid taxes, and they went home, and he was all for it. And I'm always surprised when a big shift happens in the, particularly in the Republican sector.
Yeah, the Republican sector has totally changed compared to the Democrats. Democrats have always been the same. They've always been super progressive, and they love CRT, and they love pushing down their Marxist agenda. They love this idea of white fragility. They are big fans. They've been like that since day one. It's the Republicans. The Republicans are always like attacking us, and they're changing their devious ways. They're little demons.
Because Ronald Reagan was such a big...
Right, and Ronald Reagan is like exactly what the Republican Party is about these days. Really?
Shining example to them. So I wonder...
What are they doing to make it safer, though? Because the Haitians and the bridge images and the horses coming after people, that was just last fall, I thought, or December.
They still believe, like, the horse whipping thing, I'm sure. It's like, this is what happens when you don't actually read your news or fact check or have more than one source. You just repeat stuff because someone else said it.
Caravans. What are they doing now to make sure we can handle the influx? Do they have more people?
There needs to be I mean, there are Democrats.
There are laws in place, everyone.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Uh-oh, she's about to say something. Get ready. She's got her eyes closed. Excuse me. I have something I need to say.
And under U.S. law, a refugee is a person who's unable to or unwilling to return to his home country because of various reasons.
Huh?
In this country, once you enter the country, you have a right.
I can't stand when people have their eyes closed when they're talking. It's so arrogant. Let me tell you the definition of a word that you're apparently not getting. These people are refugees, okay? They're not illegal immigrants. Define legal.
Right. A legal right because of our Constitution, because of the strength of our laws, to ask for asylum.
Does it matter how you come in? Does it matter how you come in?
No, it does not. And so when you...
Why? So it doesn't matter. Exactly. They're all asylum seekers. They're all people who are running away. They're all like running from war. We need to take them in. They're not like the Ukrainians. We'll take like a little bit of them. We'll take like 100,000 or some. But if you cross the border illegally, we'll take you in. I know that some people are coming from other countries other than, South American countries. They're walking in. I know there's been reported cases of people like Chinese people walking by and Ethiopians and stuff like that, and people from other border places around the world. Listen, we just bring them in. Who cares? They're, I know that some of them could be really good people, and then some people could be, actual murderers and people in gangs and stuff like that, and we'll bring those people in too, and we'll wait till they commit crimes, and then we'll hold them in our prisons and, give them health care and all that stuff.
You say they're coming in illegally. I
Right.
take umbrage to that, especially because 14...
Umbrage? Did she just look that word up? Who uses that? I'll take umbrage for 500.
1,000 Haitians were expelled under the Biden administration, especially because 76,000 Afghans were welcomed to this country, which they should have been, and because this administration is willing to take over 100,000 Ukrainians,
which I agree
they
with.
should.
Yes.
So it seems to me,
Which a report of, there's been reports of over a million people crossing the border, but yeah,
that
continue.
the law is okay for some people, but not okay for people that look like me.
Oh my God. Of course, you're the victim. I know you make millions of dollars a year. You're on national television and you have this platform and all this stuff and you can say whatever you want. You basically are paid millions of dollars to come up and just spit your opinion on pieces. But yeah, you're a huge victim in America. Oh my God, I feel so sorry for you.
I don't agree with that, and I think that is low-hanging fruit. There are bad.
It's not low-hanging fruit.
It is.
It is just the truth.
It's not.
It's thank you. At least she's pushing back. I can't stand when people will just accept an idea like that. They're just like, okay, but I know that just looks bad. No, reject it. Reject it to its core. If you don't believe it, fight it. So brave. Does open borders, Lady Luck, lock her doors at night? Or exactly. Does she, her private security guard will she let me come and swim in her pool? Because I think I will tonight.
That's your opinion. That's
No,
your opinion.
why is it okay for
based on
100,000
facts.
Ukrainians to come?
What did she say? My opinions are based on facts? No, that's not how it works. No, facts are based on facts. Opinions...
It's not. That's your opinion. That's
No,
your
why
opinion.
is it
My opinion
okay
is
for
based on
100,000
facts.
Ukrainians
Yeah.
to come in and not these other people?
Well, there's
who are also
What she should have said is, I'm saying facts, not my... Okay, whatever.
there's running from oppression
and they are,
and death
we
and
would
everything
welcome
else.
them
The
here
Haitian
if they
president
would
was
come-
assassinated.
If they would come here
Who are they assassinated by? Let's get into that little meat pile.
legally, and I'm telling you,
That
there
is legal, Stephanie.
Can I finish?
Yes.
There are bad people who are also coming into this country. China, knowing our borders are opening, will now have fentanyl coming across the borders like crazy, and 100,000
Why does this
people a
sound like
day-
Fox News?
It does.
Because
Oh my God. It's just like, if you have this kind of like opinion or you bring in this kind of information, all of a sudden you're Fox News, and that's her way of dismissing the argument. Oh, that's a Fox News point. Therefore, we can't talk about it. Therefore, we won't touch it. That's the problem of this country. That's the problem with so many people in corporate media. It's the problem with so many content creators. So many people are just like, oh, that's CNN's information. That's Fox News' information. That's their information. And so even if it's true, we have to just reject it because I don't want to be associated with those type of people. That's not healthy.
I'm a Republican, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just
But are you
trying to
spewing
talk
like
to you, but-
talking points
no,
here?
I
Well,
live
where are
in
you-
Oh, who's spewing talking points? It's her and not you guys? God, this is why I love the show. It's so sassy.
Numbers. I don't see stats.
I lived in Arizona. I saw these things.
You guys,
How many could you see? You're one person.
Yeah, how many? Oh, this is her way. This is her way of dismissing her argument. How many actually did you see? And then I would go, how many did you see? If you want to talk about that too. They're all good people. Every single one you've met. Oh, the ones that clean your house.
But Stephanie, I understand what you're saying. When Vice President Harris went down there, she said, please stay, because right now we're not equipped at the borders. Then we saw an influx, and they couldn't handle them. They couldn't even house them. They were, remember them carrying the food across the lakes?
Yes,
we
they
have
were
all
living
the
under a
imagery.
bridge.
If you then invite people, and by the way, I love the spirit of it. I say bring them all in. I do too. The problem is right now our boat is not at its...
It's always, it's the people, bring them all in. I have my talk show. I have my view. And it's the people, why don't we ask some of the people that work the jobs that they'll be working, say, do you want an influx of people? Is that something you're into? Because I'm curious. Do you feel like you're achieving the American dream right now? Because we're about to ruin it even more for you.
Strongest. The lifeboat is not at its strongest. We are dealing with the highest inflation of 40 years. We're in a war. We're trying to avoid a World War III.
So we should just not follow the law?
No, it's not that, Sonny, but it's the same thing as if you have a lifeboat and you say, I want to save everyone, and everyone gets on and the boat flips. You save no one. If you can't put your own mask on first, you can't help other people. Right now, we're floundering. We have people that can't
So we should just not follow the asylum law?
But Sonny, you're jumping straight across to a zero-sum explanation. What I'm saying is, even...
These people are so absurdly arrogant. It's ridiculous. That's why I can't help but watch them. Because it's just, people believe this. I know people that believe this stuff. They're not so fringe as what I think that they are.
The administration that's in there now, not Republican, Democrat, said when they looked at it firsthand, we got a problem. And they started to backtrack on things.
Even Obama's administration guy came out today. I forget his name, but he came out today and said that it's too much. We can't do this anymore. We got to stop this. It's not a good thing. Stop celebrating it.
They tell me that, I say, wow, there might be some things I don't get about this. So to make it an influx of almost threefold, I don't know if we can handle it right now.
Well, then we have to figure out a way to handle it. And we have to figure out a way.
I love these people. We'll just figure out a way. I'm not going to do anything about it, and I know it doesn't affect me whatsoever, but we just need to figure out we need to do this. We're good.
Follow the law. They've had 2 years to figure it out. They haven't figured it out, but the answer is not these people are coming across illegally. Some are welcome and some are not. That is not the promise.
God. The Afghan people didn't come across the United States illegally. So that just ruins her debate right there, saying that those people and the Ukrainians did not come here illegally either. So again, that ruins her debate right there. The Haitians that crossed the border illegally came here illegally. Therefore, debunks her entire argument of saying we just treated them different because they looked like you. Two groups of people came here via a plane. Other people came here crossing a border that's wide open. And we don't care about, we're not checking anybody's passports. We're not trying to figure out information. Not only that, the Ukrainians were women and children. Who are the people crossing our border now? Okay? Let's stop having this like pretend conversation of the good guys versus bad guys. I wish there was like an actual discussion. It's just like it's just like people on the street. It's like homelessness. It's like they're homeless. They just need a home. And they're like, well, what about, there's also a lot of drug addicts that are openly using on the street. How dare you say that? So like, we can't have honest conversations anymore because it's too triggering for people to have an honest conversation about the harshness and realities of life, of everyday life. And that's depressing to me, that we're children and we can't have a conversation anymore. We have to just submit based on our emotional push, our emotional processes. Instead of like, let's look at the facts, let's look at the information, we'll come up with the solution together.
Of this country.
Are you criminals or not?
It's almost done.
Let's not forget that this has been an...
I can't believe she just accepted that. I didn't say they were all criminals. I will. You cross the border illegally, you're a criminal, period.
Issue for quite some time
decades.
Because the Cuban folks were allowed to come in with no problem.
That's
Nobody
right.
asked anything. We begged people to pick up the Haitian folks who were fleeing before the assassination, before everything else. So this is an issue that we all have to deal with. Because either everybody is welcome, and I want to be really clear.
Exactly. Either everyone's welcome or we should shut down the border and only allow people to come here legally, process them, see what their qualifications are, their backgrounds are, what are they bringing. Like other countries, like Australia, that big freaking racist pothole that no one talks about. I've had friends that provide great services, very smart, master's degrees, try to become Australian citizens, and it's a pain in the freaking ass to become a part of them. And a lot of them got kicked out, so this idea that America is just big bad country, it's just such a boring argument, and it's so boring.
Sometimes it sounds like we're being very race-based, but this is where we come from. We see things other people don't see, and we see them differently. If I see 17 people who are white being welcomed in, and it doesn't matter that you're white, you should be welcomed in.
So you're admittingly saying on live TV you assume racism based on what people look like. What do you call that?
To the country. But I want you to welcome in brown people as well. The same
Reportedly, over 1 million people have crossed the border already this year.
way.
This administration's year.
The anecdotal evidence that you gave that some of these people are bringing fentanyl and all this other, you don't say that about Ukrainians. You don't say it about...
Okay, this is like the dumbest point I've ever heard.
and all this other, you don't say that about Ukrainians. You don't say it about
right, right, because there's no Ukrainian-Mexican cartel. God, jeez. We should make The View go to the border so they know what's going on. It's like, you don't know anyone that is overdosed on fentanyl or addicted to fentanyl in America? Because I'd be surprised.
In the middle of the war.
But why is it that those people are criminals and the others are not?
We're going to get that music that we hate.
Because that's a dumb argument. God. How are these people allowed on TV? Somebody help me. All right. I don't even want to talk about student loans. I just want to laugh at this. Look at this freaking... Look at this video. This video from freaking Chuck Schumer is insane. Like, I think if Will Smith was there, he should be allowed to slap him silly.
And when we're really getting into it, I rub his nice little shaved head.
It's not funny. He's got alopecia. Dude, I go up, I would smack the shit out of him.
Little shaved head.
He's little. He's a little guy. Just a little guy. He's a little guy, shaved head. That is not funny. How is he allowed to do that? Doesn't Schumer... Doesn't Chuck Schumer look like an like penguin or like an evil boss or like it just like you know that Amy Schumer's related to him? They're about as funny. I don't know who's funnier. Probably Chuck. Oh my gosh. Just the worst. That's crazy. Okay, look at this picture too. Look at the way Kamala Harris is just looking at Barack Obama like, it should have been us on the ticket. It should have been, I should have been with you. This is the Democrats' plea to make everything seem okay again. Look, remember Obama? It's the member berries. Yeah, I remember Obama. Yeah, I remember. You remember? Come on.
Inspired by home cook.
All right, what? We'll watch. Okay. I saw this clip today and I was like, no way. Boris Johnson came out and said this about transgenders in sports.
I don't think that biological males should be competing in female sporting events. And you know, maybe that's a controversial thing to say, but
but maybe it's a controversial thing.
Seems to me to be sensible and
sensible, not controversial.
I also happen to think that women should have spaces which are, whether it's in hospitals or prisons or change rooms or wherever, which are dedicated to women. That's as far as my thinking has developed on this issue, and if that puts me in conflict with, some others, then we got to work it all out. That doesn't mean that I'm not immensely sympathetic to people who want.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're basically J.K. Rowling. I'm so triggered by you and your honesty and your logic.
To change gender, to transition, and it's vital that we give people the maximum possible love and support in making those decisions. But these are complex issues, and I don't think they can be solved with, one swift, easy piece of legislation. They've taken it takes a lot of thought to get this right.
Oh, well, he walked us back because I 100% agree with him. I can't believe I just said that. Oh my God, that's hate speech. Incredible. Incredible. All right. We'll end it with this. CNN did this piece about China's lockdowns, which is insane of what's going on right now in China. No one is really talking about it because I don't know, because the Democrats in the office, so we're not going to freak out about it. But It's insane what's going on in China. Listen to this.
Lockdown is just staggering. You've got 25 million residents in Shanghai locked in indefinitely. This is in China's most populous and cosmopolitan city, and people there, they're feeling helpless and frustrated, but much of the dissent is being censored. Numerous complaints online of people struggling to get daily essentials. Some even turned away from urgent medical care. Most of the social media videos shown in our story were wiped off the internet in China almost immediately after they were posted. Anger is reaching a boiling point in Shanghai. Chinese social media showing residents in lockdown protesting, chanting jobs, "We want freedom." Hundreds in one Shanghai neighborhood broke out of confinement, pleading for affordable food. This resident confronts the police, yelling, "Why are we being starved?" Residents in another neighborhood crowded at the gate inside their compound, asking, "Why not put us all in prison? We've been locked in for 26 days anyway." Shanghai is now the center of China's worst crisis.
And those people are all dead. Like, what the heck, man? I've seen also videos of drones going around telling people that to stop singing for their freedoms. It's freaking insane.
Since the early days of the pandemic, most of the city's 25 million residents are under strict lockdown with no clear end in sight. Residents aren't even allowed to briefly step outside. CNN filmed this man walking in his apartment compound. He was immediately escorted back home. Social media shows children, even infants, separated from their families at a Shanghai hospital after testing positive for COVID-19.
They're just taking children away from their parents because they test positive for COVID-19. Ugh.
Isolated alone, crying. CNN
if I was them, you would have to kill me. Period.
Cannot independently verify the images, but spoke to a mother who was separated from her 2-year-old daughter. The hospital later said in a statement that it was moving its pediatric ward to make more room for COVID patients. CNN spoke to the daughter of this man who has late-stage stomach cancer. He's supposed to be hospitalized for chemotherapy, but isn't allowed to leave his apartment. He presses his chest in pain. In another heartbreaking case shared online, a woman is screaming in desperation for the paramedic to help an asthma patient. His heart has stopped, she said, pleading to borrow the ambulance's defibrillator. But the paramedics refused to help. Soon after, the patient...
Oh my God, that is like the most evil thing I've ever seen. This guy is dying. His heart has stopped. Can I use your defibrillator? Roll the window up. I'm just like... the most maniacally evil thing I've ever seen. No, it's like it like makes me laugh because it's like so it's so evil that it just I can't even compute it in my brain. Like, how can you look at
patient died. Since confirming its first Omicron case in mid-December, mainland China's average new daily case count has surged from double digits to more than 9,000. There are more than 110,000 active cases and counting. But across China, every single case is required to stay at a hospital or quarantine center, like this makeshift one in lockdown northeastern Jilin province.
Do you guys remember when like CNN and places were talking about how well China locked down compared to the United States and how they handled it so much better than us? Interesting.
This patient describes the unsanitary conditions. He says, "There is nothing here. No masks, no medical alcohol, no disinfection. Look at the garbage, the toilets." And social media shows this chaotic scene outside a makeshift hospital in Shanghai. CNN spoke to a woman who was there. Patients battling for limited blankets and food, no medical staff in sight, as medical resources in the city are stretched to the limit. The outbreak in China's financial hub is a grim setback for China's economic recovery. To keep operations running, some businesses are quarantining their employees at the office. This video diary shows 75 office workers locked down in 3,000 square feet of space. The workers said they lived in the office.
Gosh, if that's not like a breeding ground for coronavirus, I don't know what is. Let's put a bunch of people in the same room.
For 12 days earlier in March. Shanghai, China's bustling cosmopolitan.
And let's not allow them to go for walks outside. Period. No exercise.
City, now a ghost town.
This could also be sanctioned propaganda. I'm sliding with it. Yeah.
While most of the world is learning to live with COVID, entire cities and provinces in China are grinding to a halt. But for how long and at what cost?
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Just nutty. Anything exciting on the news?
You too. Next, state prosecutors in Minnesota announced today they will not file charges against a Minneapolis police officer who fatally shot a mere...
Hey, everyone's talking about that.
Officers think there are city residents hiding.
All right, guys. I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Killer T-Cell, DEF CON. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Hope you guys have a freaking fantastic night. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. It always means so much to me you do so. Hope you enjoyed some of the clips that I found to share tonight. Maybe gave you some different stories, different perspectives. I hope I didn't provide you the same information of every single podcast out there. I'm trying to be different. A little different. A little bit of Monica in my life. A little bit of Reba by my side. I don't know where that came from. Killer T-Cell. Guys, I hope you have a good night. I'm going to end with a break. And then all that stuff. Look out for stuff to come out tomorrow. Also, remember, we go live again on Friday night for Friday Night Live Madness. Hopefully I'll find some crazy, crazy things to share. I freaking love you guys. Hope you have a great night. Bye. End with the break. My fellow Americans, it's me, Joe Byron. Make sure to support Derek O'Shea by going to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea. Easily one of my least favorite YouTubers of all time. And all you have to do is go down here, buy him a coffee, support his show, or even join as a member. $3 a month, that's all it costs. And you could be a big time supporter of his show. He's a good guy, but he's a piece of crap, and I hate him for that. I hope you have a great day, and as always, let's go get ice cream, and I need to get my sniff on.